might be the last season for LeBron in Cleveland.
This is one thing that Dan Gilbert, that you have to give him credit for. There's not a lot of credit being dished out to him. That when he decided to go after LeBron James when he was in Miami, he knew that his pockets would be full too, but he knew that he would have to be committed to paying the luxury tax as long as LeBron James is on that team. If LeBron James is on your team, Miami had the same situation. Mickey Erickson, you got to be committed to be able to pay that luxury tax. I think that the younger players and the salary commitment that they have for them, I think it makes it more advantageous for LeBron to be able to stay there in Cleveland. But they got to win. Yeah. Like, they have to win. Getting younger does help his position. But in the playoffs, it's about championships for LeBron. And I believe also right now, he does not know, but I know one thing. He don't care about that luxury tax. He don't care about Dan Gilbert and what he's got to pay to put a winner out there.
No, he doesn't. I agree with you on Dan Gilbert. And we also know that really smart men have really smart accountants. And I'm sure that even though you're going to pay essentially $158 million to nobody, to the rest of the league, that's what the luxury tax is, $158 million that doesn't go to any of the players because of the luxury tax, because they're so far over the luxury tax and is a repeat offender. We also know there's some accounting that can be done to where, hey, man, I lost a ton of money last year, and it ends up helping him in taxes. That said, that's still a huge sum of money. And this is an era of fiscal responsibility. Hell, even the Yankees are trying to be, with the exception of Giancarlo Stanton's new contract, fiscally responsible. Look at baseball. They're trying to completely change the salary structure. And the NBA is going to do the same thing in the offseason.
Hasn't Golden State gone on record as saying, their owner and general manager saying that they're not committed to paying over the luxury tax going into the future?
And that's what we're talking about with Klay Thompson, right? That at some point you have to. So, look, these contracts that they acquired, like, man, how could they get George Hill? Because he's owed $19 million next year.
Clarkson.
How could they have Jordan Clarkson? Because he's got like 3 years left on a bad deal that nobody else wants. So this is a fiscally irresponsible deal that tells LeBron, hey, we want you to stay. But here's where it could backfire. When you're that far over the cap, you're completely handcuffed into adding anybody else. Right. So what Cris is saying is right. It has to work, because if it doesn't, LeBron can't say, well, let's go get some more players next year. Like, hey,
these are the players they add.
This is what you got.
Yes. Yeah.
So this is where it is the ultimate gamble. It is the ultimate, hey, we'll pay the freight later. We'll pay the balloon payment later with the hope that you win. If you win, he probably stays. If you don't, I think the Lakers' argument is, hey, look, we have the young players that you love playing with in Cleveland, that style. It'll re-energize you. The only difference is our salaries are in line. We're not in cap hell. We can still go out and make
our young guys are on their first contract.
Right.
But didn't they almost have to do this? I understand, Doug, what you're saying. It's an incredibly high risk, fiscally irresponsible, but clearly it feels worth it to them in this moment. Because had they not done this, y'all, and gone out and got these kind of fiscally irresponsible contracts, there was no chance, I believe, that LeBron stayed at all.
Well, last time LeBron walked out the door, Forbes magazine, I think the evaluation of the team went down to $150 million the day that he left. So
goodbye.
How much is 2 championships worth?
Yeah, well, here's the problem with that, with using the value of a franchise with LeBron, without LeBron. It's really hard to sell a franchise, right? Well, Dan Gilbert should just sell the franchise. Well, first, what if I don't want to sell the franchise?
Right.
Secondly, and I know you can borrow on the value of the franchise for all your other businesses, and we understand how accounting works. But the other thing is, like, I'm not going to buy the Cleveland Cavaliers if I don't know that I have LeBron James, because the value of the franchise plummets when you don't have LeBron James. So it looks great on a spreadsheet how much the team is worth with him as opposed to without him. The reality of it is it's really hard to find somebody who will buy it. But look, you asked the question, did you have to? You did have to do something. That team was dead in the water, and LeBron had no energy and was clearly not putting his best effort forward. That's the only explanation for having the worst plus-minus in the league. But what they did by taking on these contracts, they could have taken on dead money. They could have taken on, Luol Deng's contract or other contracts for guys that aren't going to play, where you can what's called buy them out and smooth them, pay them over a couple of years. They chose not to do that. They chose to take live bodies that are going to play, but are going to play under bad contracts. They did that knowingly, thinking this is a gamble, and it's a risk worth taking, because once you have LeBron James, you have no chance of winning a championship, but there is a balloon payment coming next year if LeBron James chooses to stay.
Absolutely. I mean, they literally put all the chips in on the table. So hopefully for the Cavs, this pays off. Otherwise, LeBron will definitely be moving on. All right, moving on to the reigning champs. The Warriors, they've seemed really frustrated and seem bored even to the point where coach had to let them do the coaching. But they're still 44-14. Doug, put a grade right now on Golden State going into the break.
I give them a B. I mean, again, that's probably a nicer grade than I should give them. They still are a half game out of the best record in the NBA, but it's the defensive numbers that are slipping. It's just kind of some of the feeling you get around the team, to which there's a reason Steve Kerr handed over the clipboard, because he thought his message wasn't getting through. That's not a great sign. I also think their bench has issues. Sean Livingston, Andre Iguodala especially. He played 28 minutes and didn't score a point. Like that, you almost have to try to not score a point in 28 minutes playing for the Golden State Warriors. So I think they got some issues. They still are just a half game out of the best record in the league.
If we talk about their coaching, we give them an A. We talk about their starting five, you give them an A. But that bench and how old are they? How old is Sean Livingston? Is Iggy? Can he get it going? Right. The last 3 years, they've had over 100 games, so the overall fatigue. I will give them a strong B.
Okay.
All right, a strong B.
Is there a weak B?
Yeah, because a strong B is that you're leaning closer towards an A. Like if they clean up some of that, they'd be an A. A weak B is mean you're getting in the C range, the same way you got through college.
Well, you can just
seeing your way through
C's
college.
for degrees.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from First Things First, or go watch a few segments from our other shows on FS1.